Okay, what we've been primarily focusing on is the fundamental raise strategy. The idea is for you to raise with the best hand. Right now we're at 9-handed tables. So if you were the first one to act, no one had folded, you would have to be better than 9 hands. So your hand range would have to be in the top 11.11% of hands. Now, that strategy works, except the problem is if your opponent re-raises with a hand range that's at least as good or better than that hand range. And in order for him to make sure, since this is just a range, it's the top 11%, he has to be in the upper half of this. So if you divide by 2, that's what he has to be in. But you have to be in his upper half of his range in order for you to re-raise. And but what you're going to want to do first is think about, okay, what if this guy raises? What am I going to be able to re-raise with? So let's say you're not in first position, but first position raises. Now, regardless of how many people fold, he acted knowing that there's all these people to act in front of him. So if you assume he plays optimal, you're going to have to re-raise him with the top 5% of hands. And then, let's pretend you're the raiser now, and you're getting re-raised by this range, what hand range are you going to have to re-raise? Well, you're going to have to be in his top range of hands, or the top 2.7% of hands. This is the chart that we come up with. Now, we're not playing at a 10-handed table, so we can get rid of these, and we're left with this chart. And the reason it gets kind of into gray area, because this is just using the chart at PokerStove, which you can download free at pokerstove.org, I believe the site is. Google it if it's wrong. But basically we just type in like 5.5% here. But what you'll notice is they'll get a lot of suited aces will be better than pairs, and you'll get like king queen suited. And the thing about this is your hand strength changes depending on how many people are in the pot. So I don't know if that's the exact range that you should be using, since generally you'll get only 2 or 3 callers when you're raising and re-raising. But for the most part, you can just follow this chart, and if there's different situations, you're obviously going to know your opponent and know if he's going to be playing loose, if he likes to play a lot of high cards or a lot of pairs, and based on that you can kind of adapt to him. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here. So using this strategy I've done fairly well. However, I haven't stuck to it exclusively because it doesn't have a strategy for limping. And what some people do is they just take a raise, make sure it's a hand that you can raise with, because they're still even limping with the best, and they're sticking with the same range, but maybe 25% of the time they'll limp instead of raise. And then when they limp, they're going to be able to re-raise with the same ratio, or they're going to be able to limp raise with the same ratio that they would re-raise with. Now we can see he raised from here with 4 players left. So if you go to the re-raise chart, 4 players left, and here's a re-raise, you can see that King Jack offsuit is the highest king. So King 8 was a clear fold. And when you're using this chart, you're not even going to need to look at the chart most of the time. But there are some borderline situations where you might want to look at. And